रियाज़े मन या रियाज़े जाना, रियाज़े मन या रियाज़े जाना, दिल में आना रियाज़ का, रियाज़े मन या रियाज़े जाना, रियाज़े मन या रियाज़े जाना, दिल में आना रियाज़ का, गुंजे दिल का खिलाना, गुंजे दिल का खिलाना, मुस्कुराना रियाज़ का, गुंजे दिल का खिलाना, मुस्कुराना रियाज़ का। तू अला इश्क का और मैं हूँ परवाना तेरा,
इश्क का मैं हूँ परवाना तेरा,
जलना फितरत में, जलना फितरत में है मेरी, और जलाना रियाज़ का, जलना फितरत में मेरी, और जलाना रियाज़ का, जलना फितरत में है मेरी, और जलाना रियाज़ का, रियाज़े मन या रियाज़े जाना, रियाज़े मन रियाज़े जाना, दिल में आना रियाज़ का। मैं कहूँ तो मैं ही जानूँ कौन मुझ में बोल है,
मैं ही जानूँ कौन मुझ में बोल है,
मैं कहूँ ठिकाना, मेरा दिल तेरा ठिकाना, और समाना रियाज का, मेरा दिल तेरा ठिकाना, मेरा दिल तेरा ठिकाना, और समाना रियाज का, रियाज बनया रियाज जाना, रियाज बनया रियाज जाना, दिल में आना रियाज का, गुंचे दिल का खिलाना, गुंचे दिल का खिलाना, मुस्कुराना रियाज का, रियाज बनया रियाज जाना, रियाज देखे रियाज जाने, रियाज की बत्तियां करूं,
रियाज देखे रियाज जाने, रियाज की बत्तियां करूं,
रियाज देखे रियाज जाने,
रियाज देखे रियाज जाने, रियाज की बत्तियां करूं, रियाज देखे रियाज जाने, रियाज की बत्तियां करूं,
रियाज की नजदीकियों में, रियाज की नजदीकियों में, तुम दीवाना रियाज का, रियाज की नजदीकियों में, रियाज की नजदीकियों में, तुम दीवाना रियाज का, रियाज बनया रियाज जाना, रियाज बनया रियाज जाना, दिल में आना रियाज का,
चाहे दिल का खिलाना,
गुंचे दिल का खिलाना, मुस्कुराना
रियाज का
रियाज एक राज है, लेकिन खुला मुझ पर क्यों,
रियाज एक राज है, लेकिन खुला मुझ पर क्यों,
रियाज एक राज है, लेकिन खुला मुझ पर क्यों, रियाज एक राज है, लेकिन खुला मुझ जिस्म के गुंजे से दिल में, जिस्म के गुंजे से दिल में, है उभरना रियाज का, जिस्म के गुंजे से दिल में, है उभरना रियाज का, जिस्म के गुंजे से दिल में, है उभरना रियाज का, रियाज बनया रियाज जाना, रियाज बनया रियाज जाना, दिल में आना रियाज का, गुंचे दिल का खिलाना,
रियाज मन रियाज जाना।
आलमे नासूत में जो भी ठिकाने हैं तेरे,
आलमे नासूत में जो भी ठिकाने हैं तेरे, आलमे नासूत में जो भी ठिकाने हैं
तेरे मेरे दिल है जिनमें, तेरे मेरे दिल है जिनमें है ठिकाना रियाज का।
तेरे मेरे दिल है जिनमें,
तेरे मेरे दिल
है जिनमें
है ठिकाना रियाज का। रियाज मन रियाज जाना, रियाज मन रियाज जाना, दिल में आना रियाज का। ऊंचे दिल का खिलाना, ऊंचे दिल का खिलाना और समाना रियाज का। रियाज मन रियाज जाना, रियाज मन रियाज जाना। रियाज ठिकाना रियाज का। है ठिकाना रियाज का। रियाज मन रियाज जाना, रियाज मन रियाज कालिब में बसे तो रियाज ही जाने ये हक।
रियाज कालिब में बसे तो रियाज ही जाने ये हक।
रियाज 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 कालिब में बसे तो रियाज ही जाने ये हक। दुनिया वालों को ना यूनुस, दुनिया वालों को ना यूनुस तुम बताना रियाज का। दुनिया वालों को ना यूनुस, दुनिया वालों को ना यूनुस तुम बताना रियाज का। दुनिया वालों को ना यूनुस तुम बताना रियाज का। रियाज कालिब में बसे तो रियाज ही जाने ये हक।
रियाज कालिब में बसे तो रियाज ही जाने ये हक।
रियाज बताना रियाज का, रियाज मन रियाज जाना, रियाज मन रियाज जाना, दिल में आना रियाज का, गुंजे दिल का खिलाना, गुंजे दिल का और समाना रियाज का, गुंजे दिल का और समाना रियाज का, रियाज मन रियाज जाना, दिल में आना रियाज का, या गौहर गौहर गौहर, 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 या गौहर गौहर, या गौहर बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, 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 कहंदा है जी सारा, कहंदा है जी सारा समाना गौहर शाही, बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, कहंदा है जी सारा, कहंदा है जी सारा ई ज़माना गौहर शाही, बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, गौहर गौहर हक गौहर या गौहर साडा नारा है, गौहर गौहर हक गौहर या गौहर साडा नारा है, गौहर गौहर हक गौहर या गौहर साडा नारा है, गौहर गौहर हक गौहर या गौहर साडा नारा है, डूबांगे ना कदी सानू गौहर दा सहारा है, डूबांगे ना कदी सानू गौहर दा सहारा, डूबांगे ना कदी सानू गौहर दा सहारा है, डूबांगे ना कदी सानू गौहर दा सहारा है, गौहर गौहर हक गौहर या गौहर साडा नारा है, गौहर गौहर हक गौहर या गौहर साडा नारा है, डूबांगे ना कदी सानू गौहर दा सहारा है, डूबांगे ना कदी सानू गौहर दा सहारा, डूबांगे ना कदी सानू गौहर दा सहारा है, डूबांगे ना कदी सानू गौहर दा सहारा है, बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, कहंदा है जी सारा, कहंदा है जी सारा ही ज़माना गौहर शाही, बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, बिरद है साडा हुरा दा तराना गौहर शाही, चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके गौहर, 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 चांद पे चमके, तेरा मेरा कौन है माही, तेरा मेरा कौन पे चमके गौहर,
चांद पे चमके।
दीन नबी का सच्चा दाई, दीन नबी
का सच्चा दाई,
गौहर शाही, गौहर शाही,
गौहर शाही, गौहर शाही।
हम पर मस्त मलंग रहेंगे, गौहर तेरे संग रहेंगे, ये दुनिया वाले दंग रहेंगे। चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके गौहर,
चांद पे चमके।
हक की शम्मा किसने जलाई, हक की शम्मा किसने जलाई, ये है हमारे गौहर शाही, ये है हमारे
गौहर शाही।
इनकी आन निराली सबसे, इनकी शान निराली सबसे, ये है हमारे गौहर शाही। चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके, पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके। जिनसे हमने नेमत पाई, जिनसे हमने
नेमत पाई,
वो है हमारे गौहर शाही, वो है हमारे
गौहर शाही।
तेरा माही मेरा माही गौहर शाही, गौहर शाही, तेरा माही मेरा माही गौहर शाही, गौहर शाही, हर हर दिल में यही है दुहाई। चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके,
चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके।
चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके,
चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके।
जिसने हक की राह दिखाई, जिसने हक की राह
दिखाई,
ये है हमारे गौहर शाही, ये है हमारे गौहर शाही। बनकर मस्त मलंग रहेंगे, गौहर तेरे संग रहेंगे, ये दुनिया वाले दंग रहेंगे। चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके,
चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके।
उम्मत आशिका है सहारा, उम्मत
आशी का है सहारा,
मुर्शिद रियाज़े गौहर प्यारा, मुर्शिद रियाज़े
गौहर प्यारा।
अल्लाह रसूल को राज़ी करेंगे, गौहर तेरा दम ही भरेंगे, होके हम तेरे ही बस रहेंगे। चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके,
चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके।
चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके गौहर,
चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके।
चांद पे जिनकी सूरत आई, चांद पे
जिनकी सूरत आई,
ये है हमारे गौहर शाही, ये है हमारे
गौहर शाही।
इनकी आन निराली सबसे, इनकी शान निराली सबसे, ये है हमारे गौहर शाही। चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके,
चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके।
तेरा मेरा कौन है माही, तेरा मेरा गौहर शाही, गौहर शाही, गौहर मस्त मलंग रहेंगे, गौहर तेरे संग रहेंगे, ये दुनिया वाले दंग रहेंगे। चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके,
चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके,
चांद पे चमके गौहर, चांद पे चमके,
चांद पे चमके, चांद पे चमके।
गौहर गौहर या गौहर 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 या गौहर 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 या गौहर
गौहर गौहर
या गौहर 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 या
गौहर 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 गौहर
किसका और बयां हो सके तारीफ गौहर की, किसका और बयां हो
सके
तारीफ
गौहर
महते मुकाबिल हो कोई तमसील
गौहर की
महते मुकाबिल
हो कोई तमसील गौहर की।
जूदो सखा की शान के एहसान खुदा पर,
सदा की शान के एहसान खुदा
महबूब रब का सर उठा, महबूब रब का सर
उठा।
एक नजर गौहर थी, महबूब रब का सर उठा, एक नजर गौहर थी, इस तौर हो सके तारीफ
गौहर की
जो वादे फरना किया खामोश निभाया, बर्दाश्त की मेराज थी, बर्दाश्त की मेराज थी, ये सब्र गौहर की, बर्दाश्त की मेराज थी, ये सब्र
गौहर की इस बार बयां हो सके तारीफ गौहर की।
मेहदी का बेस पर के वो सुए जहाँ आया,
मेहदी का बेस भर के वो सुए जहाँ
मेहदी का बेस भर के, मेहदी का बेस भर के वो सुए जहाँ दो चार गुल खिले, दो चार गुल खिले, यही हालत है समर की, दो हालत है समर की, सोचो और बयां
हो सके तारीफ गौहर की।
सुन लो मज़ारे हस्ती में मदफन है तो मुर्दा, सुन लो
मज़ारे हस्ती में मदफन है तो मुर्दा।
निकले कफन को फाड़ के, निकले कफन को
फाड़ के
किस्मत है शरर की, मंजूम बयां इश्क की तालीम हो तो हो मंजूम बयां इश्क की तालीम हो तो हो पढ़ता नहीं है बात कोई इश्क नसर की पढ़ता नहीं है बात कोई इश्क नसर की किस तौर बयां हो सके तारीफ गौहर की गौहर शाही मरहबा नाज़रीन मोहतरम महफिल जारी रहेगी। अब मैं अल्रा टीवी के पैनल से दरख्वास्त करूंगा कि वो वेस्टर्न सूफी कोर्स के हवाले से आगाज़ करें। गौहर शाही मरहबा।
Garsha Marhaba, and I'd like to welcome all the viewers to ALRA TV and the 12th day of the Western Sufi Course. I have Furqan and Mahad with me, and today we will be discussing the points that were explained yesterday in the Western Sufi Course by His Holiness Younus AlGohar. And it was very insightful, and as all those that have been watching the Western Sufi Course for the past few days would have realized that every single day His Holiness is basically decrypting and almost myth busting various myths that we have in spirituality in both the West and the East. And yesterday was the turn of the topic of meditation, and the two prior days to yesterday we were learning of the dark side of the lower self. But yesterday we also learned that the lower self, not only does it have a dark side, but it also has a bright side in spirituality, all again dependent on the progress and in regards to how far in spirituality you get. So His Holiness yesterday started off by explaining of the opening of the spiritual heart and how it can't be attained or obtained by personal efforts. It is something that God grants when He wishes for it to be granted. So, and we were explaining this in the previous days, that when a disciple, a seeker, an aspirant on the path of spirituality wants the opening of the spiritual heart, they find a spiritual mediator, and then the spiritual mediator is responsible for sending up his application, just to the divine embassy, to God. It's an application that this individual wants your love. He wants the opening of the spiritual heart to become God's friend. And if God authorizes it, then the disciple, the seeker, the person who wants to walk this path of spirituality is granted the opening of the spiritual heart. So this is what His Holiness meant when he said that when in spirituality nothing is for granted. The opening of the spiritual heart is strictly down to God's will, and it's dependent on His authorization. It's God's bounty. And then moving on, His Holiness explained that Sufism and spirituality, and to most people in this day and age, in this very commercialized era, would find the teachings of spirituality to be very, mythical, fairy tale like. And the thing is, it's not a fairy tale at all. It's all down to experience. Obviously, when you begin to experience spirituality, you then begin to see the various aspects of its reality. So that was the second point. And then we quickly came on to the point of transcendental meditation. Now, meditation, it's promoted all over the world, from the West to the East, and all sorts of gurus and people who proclaim to be spiritualists talk about meditation, and you hear a similarity in all of their description of meditation. And they say, and like we went to the spiritual heart for the Mind, Body and Soul Expo in London. I personally have been to spiritual expos in Australia, in Singapore, in all over the United States, in England, many more countries that don't come to mind yet. And every single expo that we went to, we found people talking about meditation, and their methods are always very similar. And they're always talking about sitting down, focusing on one particular point, emptying your mind, and imagining that you're in a place that you love. And for most Westerners, it would be a beach with the sunset and with children running around. If you love your child, then you're with your child in the fields, and they have you imagine these sorts of things, and they call it meditation. Now, the concept of meditation, transcendental meditation in spirituality, is a lot more practical. The thing is that the concept of meditation that is proclaimed in and promoted in the West, it's not truly meditation. And the word that they use, meditation, it literally means a cognitive act. It's to be thinking about something. It's to do with your intellect, your brain. You're focusing with your brain. You're focusing on one particular point, and you're imagining something. Whereas transcendental meditation is the celestial souls within you, leaving your body and traveling outside of your body, outside of your city, outside of the planet that we live on. It's an intergalactical, it's a completely different thing. It's an intergalactical, interdimensional form of travel. And this is something that is not spoken about. And although it has an existence in traditional Sufism, because people don't know how to do it, it becomes a myth. Because this generation, our generation hasn't seen anything, it becomes a myth. And people begin to think that it's just, a fairy tale, and then other spiritualists, so-called, they doubt its existence, and they find different ways to explain it. And the way it has been explained in both the West and the East is a form of sitting down and focusing on something. That's what they call meditation. Yeah. And the original word, do either of you remember the original word of muraqabah? Yeah.
In Arabic, I believe it directly translates into travel.
To radar.
To
radar, yeah. And what's a radar? It's like you're sitting here and you're sending out bots. It's almost like that. You're sitting in one space and it's a locator, and you're sending out bots for just for the sake of saying. But what it actually is, and His Holiness explained that most people that have been following and studying the Western Sufi course so far would be thinking that why hasn't His Holiness spoken about transcendental meditation yet? Yeah. And in most cases, like I said, in all expos, they talk about this to be a form of spirituality. Yeah. And His Holiness explained that the reason that he hasn't made this a proper chapter as yet is because it's not something you just sit down and do. It's not something a novice or a newcomer or an amateur in the path of spirituality can just do. It's something that when you reach a certain station in spirituality, in Sufism, in the path of spirituality, it happens involuntarily. And do you remember the example of himself that His Holiness gave?
So the example His Holiness gave yesterday was about they were sitting in a barber shop in Karachi, and they fell asleep while sitting on the barber's chair. And
neither asleep, neither awake.
Yes, it was somewhere in the middle, half physical, half spiritual, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But how they described it was that whilst they were sitting there, they were in malakut, they were in the realm of the angels. Mm-hmm. So. And they didn't even try to do this. I mean, they gave another example as well. It was within 30 years of, in practice of spirituality, in 32 years, that they've only, they've voluntarily, only once. Yes. But, whilst in that moment in the barber's chair, they went all the way to the realm of the angels without even, trying to focus, intently focus on it. Just went. Precisely, yeah. And when they, when they awoke again, when the barber woke them up, they mistook him for an angel. Yeah. The whole reason why it wasn't a chapter, or it isn't a chapter currently, is it's part of the course essentially, in the sense that you will experience it, but you don't have to intentionally try to,
Yeah.
because it'll just happen on its own.
It's basically something, and moving on, we'll discuss about it more in detail.
Like a natural occurrence in the
Yes.
path of spirituality.
And there's a whole mechanism that goes into it. It's not like the entire mechanism is. We'll now move on to the second point. And His Holiness explained that the very first form of transcendental meditation takes place after the awakening of the spiritual heart and then the purification of the lower self. So once you've got these two activated, once you've activated, awakened, strengthened the spiritual heart, and then purified the lower self, now you've opened up the opportunity, the potential to be able to carry out transcendental meditation, leave your body. And what happens is, like we were explained in regards to the spiritual heart, the more it grows in spirituality, the more divine energy it absorbs. There comes a point where the spiritual master implants a spiritual germ within the spiritual heart, which gives birth to a new baby. So now you have the bare unit of the spiritual heart, and then you have an extra spirit, the baby spirit, an entity that has come out of the spiritual heart. So not only do you have one spirit, but you have two spirits: the base unit. You have the entire spiritual family. You have the base unit, Qalb Sanobar, then you have Qalb Salim, the secured heart, and then you further in the path of spirituality. Now the spiritual mediator has implanted another spiritual germ, a spiritual sperm, and it gives birth to another baby from the spiritual heart. And now you have the directed heart, Qalb Munib, and then God takes personal interest after the second baby, and then he voluntarily, God helps in the birth of the third spirit, Qalb Shaheed, the witnessing heart. So now you have a total of 4 spirits within you, and it's part of the spiritual heart family. You've got Qalb Sanobar, you've got Qalb Salim, Qalb Munib, and Qalb Shaheed. That is the pine heart, the secured heart, the directed heart, and the witnessing heart. So that's 4 entities over here. And then the same thing happens, and it was explained when we were talking about the lower self, the negative psyche, when you're purging the dark side of the lower self. And in doing so, you're actually bringing the dark side of the lower self, and by purifying it, you're bringing it from the dark side into the brighter side, the brighter self. And that process gives birth to 4 different individual stages of the lower self. Do you remember the names?
Yeah, so first it was Nafs-e Amara, the commanding self.
Yes.
Then Nafs-e Lawama, which is the blameworthy self.
Yes.
And then Nafs-e Ilhama or Mulhima, which is the inspired self. Then finally is the stage which only saints of God, only those who God wants to grant this to, called Nafs-e Mutmainna, which is the contented self.
Yes. Yeah. So how many stages are those?
So that's 4 stages.
4 stages in total. So a person walking on the path of spirituality, a complete Sufi who has awakened the spiritual heart and all 4 of its entities, who has purified the lower self and has given birth to another 4 of the lower self's entities. You have 8 down there and 8 up here. And when you are capable enough, now that you've purified the lower self, you have 4 entities there, 4 spirits of the lower self. You have 4 spirits of the spiritual heart. You have 8 entities in total, spirits within you. And they all are, they look like you, they talk like you, they're your mini-me's, they're your minions. And having purified the lower self, now you have the potential to, now because they have divine energy, they've been generating divine energy, they are strong enough to carry out a transcendental meditation, leave your body. And the example given was that one day, His Divine Eminence, Lord Younus AlGohar, His Divine Grace said to His Holiness Younus AlGohar that Prophet Muhammad at the time of Hajj, at the time of Hajj happens every year. It's the pilgrimage in Islam whereby people go to Mecca and circumambulate the black cubicle known as the Kaaba. So His Holiness Younus AlGohar, he said that every year at the time of Hajj, one day before the physical Hajj, the Prophet Muhammad is physically in the Kaaba, and he asks all the spiritual masters, mediators in the world, that have you prepared the disciples, your seekers, for the spiritual Hajj? And then what happens is all those truly guided spiritual mediators, they contact their disciples and they tell them, sit down and close your eyes and meditate. And they meditate, and involuntarily their spiritual selves, they leave their body and travel to Mecca, and they take part in the spiritual pilgrimage with with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself physically. And this is known as the spiritual Hajj. And there's a hadith, a tradition of the Prophet in regards to this, whereby Prophet Muhammad said that the Hajj Akbar is greater than the physical Hajj. Hajj Akbar means the greater pilgrimage, and it is greater than the physical pilgrimage. Why? Because in the physical pilgrimage, people are traveling there in millions every year, but who knows whether they are spiritually enlightened to reap the benefits of Hajj, of the pilgrimage. But those, God said that those who completed even one form of Hajj Akbar, spiritual pilgrimage, they will find salvation no matter what, because they have taken part in the greatest form of pilgrimage. So the point of this example was that then His Holiness sat down, His Holiness Younus AlGohar sat down one day, and as he sat down and he said that in the 32 years, like Mahad just explained as well, in the 32 years of His Holiness practicing spirituality, only once did he intentionally invoke and intentionally carry out the practice of transcendental meditation, whereby he sat down and he focused on his lower self. And in doing so, he was saying the words that they say whilst carrying out Hajj, labbaik, and those words. It's a certain few words that you perform whilst doing Hajj. And he was saying it, and before he could complete the sentence, he heard that his mouth uttered, his lips uttered the few words, and then he heard a thud, and that thud was the sudden sound of his body falling to the ground. But he was standing there looking at it, and there were 4 angels standing there, and they asked His Holiness to sit on a sort of a platform. And as he sat on the platform started flying over, out of Karachi, over the oceans. You could see the mountains, and you could feel everything. And then it arrived on top of the black cubicle in Mecca known as the Kaaba. And the angel said, "Look down." And they asked His Holiness, "Would you like to go down?" Yeah, and His Holiness said, "No, thanks. Let's go back." So the point is that in transcendental meditation, your lower self, you can physically feel everything that you are seeing and feeling. For example, you're flying through the sky, you can feel the wind, you can see and feel the rain, and it's that real. And everything that your spiritual lower self does, it's
Yeah, it was like it was the point explained that everything your lower self does, it's your body.
Yes.
Exactly. It's considered your body. Yeah, precisely. And so, when they went to Kaaba, or just above it, it was essentially like the body was above Kaaba.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to add anything to that point?
Yeah. So His Holiness also mentioned that with transcendental meditation and being able to travel around with your nafs, you can travel anywhere in the universe, to the furthest corners of the universe. You can travel where no scientists have discovered. You can go to Mars and see what Mars truly is. As His Holiness also mentioned that Mars is surrounded by radioactive rays. And so we physically, as scientists, and we haven't seen what Mars actually is, but through transcendental meditation, you can see what Mars actually looks like. You can go inside the sun. You can travel anywhere to your heart's content. And then there's also the point that upon purification of the lower self, there are 4 birds.
Yes.
And with these, and after purification, you can also see all sorts of jinns.
Yes.
You can see everything.
Yeah, that's coming onto the brighter side, right?
Yeah, coming onto the point of the brighter side of the self. And in nature, the lower self is like that of a jinn.
Yes. The nature,
However, it is fundamentally different from a jinn in that being inside the body is able to absorb divine energy, whereas jinns cannot. They really can't. So, like the headquarters of the jinns is in Russia on
Yes.
Mount Kaf,
Gohikaf, yes.
Gohikaf,
The mountains of
the
Kaf.
mountains of Kaf. And if you go there, then no, with a purified nafs, no jinn would dare challenge you because
Yes.
of your purified nafs.
Yeah,
They
it's become the reason being is that the jinns, they don't have the potential to rise above their own nature. But when the nafs was implanted in the lower self, when you have purified the lower self, it's reaching potentials that the common jinn cannot. And obviously then it becomes the master of the jinns. And so when that happens, they don't dare to mess with you. And essentially they are giving their power, they're giving the key to their power and their realm to an individual who has purified, purged against his lower self, and now has the spiritual divine energy within it. And obviously in this point, the lower self's dark side and the bright side, His Holiness explained that when you, before purification, the dark side of the lower self, it is responsible for those negative impulses to do bad. It's responsible for making you do bad things. And having controlled and purified the lower self, it then enters the brighter side of the lower self. Now you've purified it, it's got newer powers due to the immense divine energy it has absorbed. And this is the brighter side. And like Furqan just mentioned, the point of Kohikaf, that this is known as the Caucasus region in southern Russia. There's a line of massive mountains, and His Holiness explained that this is where the fairies reside, the jinns reside. And again, it sounds like a fairy tale, but it's only true to someone who's experienced it. Now, in an extremely and increasingly pessimistic and what's the right word? Can't think of the right word, but in an increasing pessimistic world, we tend not to believe in things like this. Cynical, yes. Yeah, because people don't believe in things they haven't seen. And that is why seeing is believing, right? That was a really good point. And would you like to add on to that point?
I think you covered most of it, but it was that point that, within Sufism, they mentioned how, to out someone who's never, especially for Muslims who don't believe in, ilm-e-batin, they don't believe in that sort of stuff, they don't believe in spirituality, or people of any religion who don't believe in spirituality, they genuinely won't understand or believe it because the mention of it in the books, etc. It's out of their own worldview, if that makes sense. So, for example, like you just mentioned, the fairies in the mountain of Kaf, the Russian Caucasus. When I heard about this yesterday, it got me physically very excited because it's like, oh, wow, it's genuinely mind-blowing information. But if you tell it to someone, who goes to the mosque 5 times a day and doesn't give a second thought to any of this, they're so boring. They won't like, that's how I see it. They're so boring. They won't see, oh, there's new possibilities.
Yeah.
It's so, they're so enclosed in their own worldview.
Limited, yeah.
Yes, precisely.
So they just want to follow their own ritual routine.
Yeah, of course. And it really goes to show, the knowledge that's dispersed here, it's something new, it's something exciting, and it's something practical above all else. It's in hindsight, it's really motivating.
It is.
It is. It's extremely inspiring just to look. You think about it, and it's, because when it was in Urdu, when it's in it was like, oh, what a journey I'm gonna have to perform over my lifetime. But no, it's as soon as I hit my early 20s, I'm basically done with this.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to add on besides that.
We'll get to that point of the higher self as well. But before that, I remember one other point, and that was in regards to the transcendental meditation and the entire mechanism behind it. There's so many things that go into it, and this is what proves that it's not just talk. It's not just
the detail.
The detail and the different aspects. For example, when you're talking about a table, you're not just talking about a table, are you? You're talking about there's pillars holding up that table.
Yes.
And then those pillars come from a wood that was chopped somewhere, and that wood has to be made in a certain way. Then it's chopped, and then it goes into a factory. Then it's carved in a certain way. Then it's polished.
Given a special.
Exactly. So many things, and then they bring it to the table. Okay, now we're still not done. We've got those pillars. Now it needs stands to go on that. Those stands need wheels to go on, and then to attach the wheels, you need a bolt, and then so many things. And that is, it's the detail, that sort of detail that proves the authenticity of this knowledge. The amount of detail, the build-up of the entire mechanism. And for example, just yesterday was only we were only talking about transcendental meditation. We started off with the spiritual heart. We moved on to the lower self, discussed the darker self, moving on to the brighter self, the brighter side of the lower self. You see what I mean? And then, it's a lot to take in. And then the last point was about the higher self, finally coming to the higher self, the Latifa Ana, the Ana. And we were explained what it means. There was a point in between in regards to transcendental meditation and the effects it has on our body. And I don't want to discuss it now. I'm going to reserve that for Steve later on. I want you to speak on that topic when you come on, about whereby His Holiness said that when we carry out this in the events in the future, we will also invite yogis, and it's blaming amazing, isn't it? There's so much into it. The physical aspect of spirituality, what you need physically. That is what I'm saying. There's so much that goes into it, so much detail into the mechanism of any particular part of spirituality. Now we're talking about the transcendental meditation. Before we were talking about the lower self, and it's all overlapping.
Yes.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yes.
It's like having a full keychain of keys and then finally finding the right key to the lock.
Exactly.
It's so satisfying when it works.
So satisfying, yeah. We've just had so much information over the past 12 days, and genuinely it's kind of sad upon hearing yesterday that it would be ending on the 25th. But obviously this was the first time. It's been a major success.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's going to be so handy, so helpful for all sorts of people in the world, all over the world. It's going to be available on SufiCourse.com, and it's going to be helping people for years and years to come in walking the spiritual path, in enlightening, awakening, and recognizing themselves. Because we misinterpret our lower self to be ourselves. But this is what it was explained. Yeah.
That there are actually two parts to the self, the higher and the lower self. Just thinking about that, it's something that it's been around for the entire time, but we just haven't known. And we're not going to discover it by reading any book on Sufism.
And here's the complexity, right? So yesterday, before we get to that point, I'm just going to explain that when it was explained about the progeny of Prophet Adam, I think that was 3 days ago, we were told that the lower self was implanted within us. The reason was that God wanted human beings to come into the world, and it's not going to be easy because we're here as a test. We have a purpose to complete, and you pass that test, and then you attain what you were supposed to attain. And the aptitude test, God puts you through the test of life. Now, obviously, you don't come into the world and just walk the path and you're through. That's why God has placed the hurdles, and the biggest hurdle is the lowest self within us. And it keeps us here. It keeps us engaged within materialistic things, keeping us away from God. And then came yesterday's point, having purified the lower self. Now you've got the higher self, and it's got 3 layers. 3 layers that keep you from thinking and keep you from concentrating on what the purpose of life was. The first layer is there and is placed upon the higher self, the Latifa Anna, the I, what is truly you. It's the I, the me. There's a layer, a veil that has been placed upon that entity in the head, and it holds you from thinking about anything else but your life, your wife, your children, your job. It keeps you involved within the world.
Of seeing God
The thought,
it doesn't even come into your mind. Because, the veil's placed there by the devil, so you won't even think about your purpose then.
And so having now enlightened the spiritual heart, purified the lower self, now you move on to the higher self, then you begin to, further progress in spirituality. The first veil is, the first layer has been removed. Then you start to think about the possibilities that, oh, if I move forward, I could also do this, possibly. It becomes more of a possibility. Now you start thinking along that line. And then when the second layer has been removed, the third layer, His Holiness said, is placed upon the Latifa Ana by God Himself. And once that layer has been removed, then you stop thinking about work, your clothes. You don't even remember to eat. You don't think about your children, your wife, or anything in the world. The only thing roaming around your head is God. How am I going to see God? How am I going to see God? And it becomes a craze. And then, you come to the point where it leaves your head. It migrates and, it travels to, that's this transcendental meditation of the higher self. And that is the one that can go and travel all the way up to where God sits, the viewing gallery, which His Holiness spoke about. There's so much detail. And Nofil, I'd like you to join us, replace Mahad, and I just want you to tell the viewers what you think, whether it's about something that was said yesterday, overall, the Western Sufi course, how is it helping you overall?
Goshamar. So yesterday I found out about the three layers in the Latifa Anna. It was really surprising to find out that the devil puts like this lock in your Latifa Anna, so you don't even think about God. When the first layer is removed, you move on to the second layer. You get this. You have this mind frame that you can see God, and then you get involved in this Sufism course. You feel more involved. Your heart feels like just like saying the name of God, doing zikr Allah. And when you move into the third layer, you feel like just seeing the face of God
All
all the time. So you feel like you just want to leave your family behind, go to the forest, sit there alone, 12 years, 15 years, just trying to just see the face of God. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's truly amazing, the detail of the information. Would you like to add anything about the three layers, if I'm missing something out?
Yeah. So not just about the three layers, but also in general. So, we know how the first layer is placed there by the devil, and then the final layer is placed by God. So in modern society, we've developed this conjecture that every human being is solely a creation of God, and that the devil plays no role in the creation of our body. The devil is just the hurdle himself. And it's just mind-blowing to think that we're not completely devils, we're not completely angels, we're both. Where we've got the negative psyche, and then placed by the devil, and a layer placed on the Anna by the devil. Then we have all the celestial spirits in the chest and the Anna being created and placed in the body by God Himself. And it's just going against the conceptions that we have in one society once again.
Yeah. So many good points. I'd also like to invite Seth to give us a piece of his mind and enlighten us, Seth, in regards to number one, obviously points from yesterday, and as well as points from yesterday overall. What have you experienced in the Western Sufi course so far? How do you think it's going to help you? Anything?
Speaking on yesterday, the topic of the higher self. How there's three layers. The first layer being layer put on by the devil, where you don't even understand. Like you don't look for God. You don't never understand like God. You never try to find God. That's you can see that mostly in like the world. Like no one really, like most people don't like want to know God. They don't really follow like a religion or something. Like that's what most people are doing now. like less and less people are following religion now. And then there's a second layer being placed, like it's like you know that God's there, but you see God as a light, like Baba said.
It's for the
It's-
religious people,
Yeah, for religious people, that people live in the temples, mosques, and yeah,
for those following the celestial books.
yeah. And it's like it's you could say it's a fog with like a light. That's
Smoke.
your smoke. They see that as God there, but they don't see God's actual true face. That's what they think God is. God is just a light, like And then there's the third layer where you actually see God, and the only thing in your mind is God. That's like your addiction now. And going on the topic of how the Sufi course has helped me is that I feel like I was changing my whole being. I've become more aware of my like actions and how what my actions will do to other things. Like same thing with coming to the lower self, like the impulses to backbite, talk bad about someone, or like just overall just like doing bad things. I think before I do something now. Before I just like, you know what, I'll just tell them.
The impulse.
Yeah, the impulse, I'll just do it no matter
Yeah.
what. But now I think about, okay, what's the consequences? What's the point of doing this? Same thing, like Papa said, if you give it 2 minutes, let it say what it wants, keep it like, and ignore it, and it'll go away.
Yep.
I mean, that's helped me a lot. Like, I feel like that's one of the main factors that like helped me through the things, but also like the knowledge of all the lataif and all things. Just it's amazing. I mean, I can't. It's just amazing.
No, one of the points that we've forgotten so far from yesterday was also adding to the point of the 3 layers on the higher self, on Latifa Ana. And His Holiness explained that at the time of death, when one is about to die, you're on the deathbed and you're moments away from dying, then what happens is those 3 layers are removed from the head, from the Latifa Ana, the entity, higher self. Yeah, just before death, the 3 layers are removed. And all of a sudden it dawns on you, because your intellect is now cleared, and it's been made to the state where it naturally should have been. And he suddenly realizes, the individual, he or she realizes that, oh, I was in this world to see God. I was here to enlighten my higher self, elevate my celestial souls, reach God. And here I am about to die. I've not done anything. They start regretting it, and instantly they pray to God that, God, please allow me more life so that I can go back into the world and attain what I was supposed to attain. But God says that now it is time, your time, it is now your calling, it's too late, and it's time for you to come back. So this thing, this incident whereby the 3 layers are removed happens at the time of your death. And then there's a tradition of the Prophet, mutu kabla anta mutu, and it means that die before your death. And His Holiness explained that die before your death. What does it mean? It doesn't have a practical meaning. What does it mean that you should commit suicide before your death, or die before you're actually supposed to die? No, the first die is a metaphor, and it is directing you towards the point in regards to awakening or removing those layers from your intellect, from your spiritual higher self before your death, because that is something that happens after your death. So Prophet Muhammad is saying, remove those layers from your intellect, from your Latifa Ana before your death comes, so that you realize your spiritual potential, so that your higher self is able to fly out of your body, transcend, to meditate out of your body, reach God and view God. That is the purpose of life. And it's absolutely amazing. I'd like Faiz to come up and give us a piece of his mind, discuss a few points from yesterday.
No, Sharamba. Just recapping yesterday's speech regarding the spiritual entity called Anna, the higher self. So the concept, as was explained, was we have the higher self over here and then the lower self. And just before you enter spirituality, your lower self is the dominant one. And
before you can enter spirituality, the idea is for you to completely purify the lower self, so that it comes to a point where its source of energy comes from divine light. And once that's established, then we move on to the other souls. It finishes off with the soul of Anna, the higher self.
Sufism is a mass transformation. Like an old house, when you refurbish it, completely changed. Everything is new. Similarly, Sufism is a mass transformation. a human being changes to a degree that he or she himself won't identify his past or her past. Was this me? And this only happens when you adopt true Sufism. If you practice Sufism and you're still the same, something is wrong. Because Sufism is the path of transformation. Sufism is not just about purifying the heart, awakening of the souls. But at the same time, you have to guard against all impurities once you have purified the heart. You cannot continue doing the same things in life that you were doing before. However, when the heart is purified and the lower self is purified, the impulse that incites you to do wrong diminishes. And it is a great help. As a preventive measure, when you want to guard against all impurities, the great help will come from within you, which will help you and prevent you from doing a lot of bad things. It is not possible that you have become a Sufi and you still have that impulse of doing wrong things. It is not practical, right? Sufism requires dedication because it's about changing your lifestyle. It's about changing your mindset, your thought process, the way you live, the way you carry yourself. Lifestyle is not about how you live. You live in a small house or you live in a big mansion. Whether you have a Nokia phone or you have an iPhone, whether you drive a small car or you drive Rolls-Royce or Bentley. This is what people perceive to be a luxurious lifestyle. But that's not it. Lifestyle is about your character. Lifestyle is about disciplining your desires. How to discipline your desires, right? If you're able to buy a new pair of trousers, buy it. But if you're not able to buy a new pair of trousers, then don't worry about it. A Sufi lives by needs, not by luxury. You know, people like Rafaqat, who said we love Sarkar Gohar Shahi. but they are in two boats: love for the world and love for the Lord. The Lord doesn't like it. When you come back to your roots, everything will become normal. The call of Sufism is for those who want to volunteer themselves to love. Sufism is something that cannot be forced upon anybody. It is through the willingness of the heart and then dedication. Sufism is not a trend. It's not a fashion. Sufism is way of life. Sufism is to live like God does. If you want to love God, why don't you adopt His character? And this is a divine imperative. أُخْلِفُ بِإِخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ. Adopt my character. God does not stop provisions even to those who do not believe in Him. He provides for everybody with all the necessities. Perhaps this is why a majority of human beings are mistaken and they think there is no God. If there was a God, we don't believe in Him, would He give us so much comfort and luxury? And also, Sufism is not all about Rumi. Please correct yourself. Sufism is not a philosophy. Sufism is not a philosophy. There are many greater saints than Rumi. In the Western world, Sufism is all about loving Rumi and his poetry. Sufism is the divine lifestyle. Live like God. And you will only live like God when God lives in you. You will only live like God when God lives in you. And if you say, I love God, but your heart is void of God's presence, this will be a deception. Self-deception. And there is no shortcut in Sufism. Sufism is not a course like Western Sufi Course. Western Sufi Course is just an introduction. The only Sufi course is the course of Sufism. True Sufism starts after you have become Sufi. As a novice, as a new student, when you're learning to transform different elements of your being, you are excused for many wrongdoings. You are excused for many mistakes that you make, because God understands that there is an element of evil and there is an element of negativity still in you. Therefore, any wrongdoings, any mistakes that you will make on the course of Sufi path, you will be excused by God. But once you have become a Sufi, you would have eliminated all the elements of evil and all the elements of negativity, after which you will be left with no pretext and no excuse to yet again do anything wrong or make a silly mistake. That's understandable. That's pretty fair, isn't it? Those who want to adopt Sufism, they have to take it really seriously. The change will not come by overnight. It takes time. And the good thing is, you're just like a patient who is undergoing a major surgery, which means you're just lying down in the bed. Do you help the doctor when you're being operated upon? Everything is done for you. The problem is sorted for you. Similarly, in spirituality, in Sufism, there is very little that you will be required to do. Most of the burden of purifying you and elimination of negativity and evil will be carried out by the spiritual master. But the good thing is, thanks to His Holiness Sarkar Gohar Shahi, today we're able to introduce universal Sufism. You may read any Sufi book. You may go and listen to any Sufi priest, and you will find out that Sufism is a branch of Islam. In order to successfully adopt Sufism, one will have to associate with the religion of Islam. However, with the most gracious Lord, His Holiness Gohar Shahi, you do not need to associate yourself with any faith, with any religion today. And the reason why you do not need to associate with any religion today, because the path that leads to God, the path of purification, was introduced by messengers and prophets who were the founders of religions. Spirituality was the core of every religion. In order to learn spirituality, one had to associate with one or another religion. Right? But this is for the first time in the entire human history. You're being called upon a newer form of Sufism, a broader and greater form of Sufism, in which the only association you need is the association of God. If you want to associate yourself with God, don't stop. And the Sufi spectrum about God is so broad and wide that the Sufis do not care whether you want to call upon God with the name in your language or any other language. You can use any name for God. Sufis don't care. Because Sufis understand anything said by the tongue has nothing to do with Sufism. Because Sufism is reality. In the past, Sufism was a name. And today, Sufism is reality without a name. Today, Sufism is reality without a name. Now, if people ask me, what's your religion? What should I tell them? For the lack of better choice of words, I tell them my religion is love. What else can you tell? It's love. It takes time. But the day is not far when all the loving souls, wherever they are, will understand the fact that it is God that you seek, not a label. These are labels. Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Christian, Catholic. These are labels. Like this wonderful book penned by His Holiness Gohar Shahi. The label of the book says Deen Ilahi. If you remove this label, you think the knowledge of Deen Ilahi will be removed from the book? No. The knowledge will still be there. So do not go after the labels. But it's a trend, isn't it? This is a mindset. For example, if you go to Tesco or Sainsbury here, you can buy a good pair of jeans for 12, 15 pounds. But you wouldn't want to do this. You go after the labels. It has to be from Calvin Klein. It has to be from Bahama, from Tommy Bahama. It has to be from, what is it? Levi's. It has to be from Giorgio Armani. These are labels. I bought one pair of jeans, stretchable jeans. They're very comfortable. From Costco for £8. And then I bought another stretchable jeans from Calvin Klein, and it was $150. But the one that I bought for £8 is far better in quality. When you have a little more money in your pockets, you develop this trend of going after the brands. You want branded stuff. What is your own brand? Are you branded? Of course there are brands. Shia. Every single Shia is a Sayyid. It's a brand. Right? Similarly, among Hindus, Brahman is a brand. You're still a human being. Brahman doesn't mean you're God. Does it? I mean, look at Hindus. Brahmins are the best. Right? Is it Hindu doctrine that teaches Brahman to hate other low caste Hindus? Dalit Hindus? Shudar? No. But this is part of Hinduism now, which of course is not the teachings of Hinduism. In the eyes of God, all are equal. Whether you're Brahman, Dalit, Shudar, Kadri, whoever you are, your soul is not Brahman, your soul is not Shudar. Similarly, what is Sayyid? Nothing. Right? Same body of flesh and bone. I don't know why our Shia brethren think they are pure. When the Prophet was born with nafs, when the Prophet was born with an evil jinn, but they think they are pure, which means they're totally wrong. They're heavily mistaken. This is all wrong. Jews, well, theoretically, they're the favorite nation of God. But are you the same type of Jew? The Jew of the age and era of Abraham and Moses? No. Perhaps this is why there was a need for a greater explanation about quality of human beings. His Holiness Gohar Shahi said, I give you a revolutionary message. A Muslim thinks he is the best. And a Jew thinks he is even better than a Muslim. And a Christian says, I am better than both. I'm the champion. Why? Because I am the nation of God's son. How can you exceed in excellence than me? And then His Holiness Gohar Shahi said, but Gohar Shahi believes the best among all of you is one who has God's love in the heart. Whether or not he believes in any religion. So, in simple words, His Holiness Gohar Shahi said, in order to be the best, you do not have to associate with any religion. Meaning, the association of a religion is not something which will grant you greatness. It is the association of God. Being a Muslim will not make you great. Being a Jew or a Christian or a Hindu or a Sikh will not make you great. Obviously, there are some Muslims who are great, and there are some Christians who are great, and there are some Jews who are great. Think again. What was it that made those Muslims, Jews, and Hindus great and not us? Those Muslims and Christians and Jews became great because in addition to their religious association, they found the divine association. They found the divine association. If today you obtain divine association through Sufism, if you succeed to bring God in your heart, you don't have to adopt any religion or associate with any religion. Why? Because you have got the association of God. It is God's association which will make you great. But then, this is a different kind of great person. If you think you're great because you're a Muslim or a Sikh or a Hindu or a Jew or a Christian, that mindset will always want you to fight and hate others. It will push you into a race against each other. But when the greatness comes to you through your association with God, you want to make everybody great. This is the impact of the greatness that comes after your association with God is established. What a wonderful message. What a beautiful message that is. His Holiness Gohar Shahi said, if you have God's love in your heart, you're great. Even if you don't practice any religion. Now, this tells a story. And the story is, your ultimate association is God. Your primary association was your religion. If with the help of your primary association, you did not reach your ultimate association, which God is, then your primary association is useless. But now, according to the Quran, God addressed all the faithful ones in the Quran. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu man yartadda minkum an dinihi. Oh, the faithful ones in all the religions. when you quit your religions, man yartadda minkum an dinihi, when you quit your religions, fasawfa ya'ti Allahi biqawmin, then God will not send any prophet or messenger to correct you, because the last prophet, the last messenger has already come. There is no prophet after him. There is no messenger after him. So don't think, if now you go wrong, you will be made right. No. There is yet another plan in the divine mindset. فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِي اللَّهِ. Then Allah will bring about a new nation. A new nation. And Allah will love them. God will love them. And they will love God. Now this is coming from Quran. And if you are a Muslim and you still have your reservations about this, then what kind of a Muslim you are? Are you not ashamed of yourself? Why do you claim you believe in Islam? Why do you claim you believe in the holy word of God? You do not even have the ability to conform, which is confirmed by the Quran. Right? Muslims today have developed a longer tongue. And they have been deprived of trust and belief. Nothing seems to be genuine to them. They think everything is fraudulent. Everything is fake. Why? Because they are fake. This is fake. This is not Sufism. Even if you're talking about Quran, they will still swear at you. What else do you need to understand for the fact that they have been deprived of the truth? When you suffer from deprivation of the truth, you lose your senses. There is a sense and there is a sensibility. Alas, the Muslims have lost both. This is the divine plan, which goes hand in hand with the Goharian plan. Oh, the faithful ones, when you quit your religions, then God will introduce a new nation. They will love God and God will love them. Right? And now Sarkar Gohar Shahi said, the best among you is the one who loves God, even if he doesn't belong to any religion. This is the course of Goharian syllabus. You need to understand that no religion is greater than God. But ask anybody who follows a religion, they will stumble on this point. They will definitely want to argue with you on this point. No, no, no. It is the religion who is taking us to God. Where? Have you reached God? So why are you saying my religion is taking me to God? It is supposed to take you to God, but it's not taking you. It is supposed to take you to God, but is it taking you? If your religion has already taken you to God, then why you behave like a animal? You're killing each other in the name of God? Is this what God told you when you met Him? Kill each other in the name of God? Spread hatred? No. When these religions were pure, even then God was your ultimate destination, wasn't He? And now, when these religions have become futile, have lost their glory, God is your ultimate destination. Sufism is for those who want to love God. If you are after paradise and luxury, Sufism is not going to help you. Why? Because Sufism is all about taking all luxury and comfort from you. Sufism and luxuries and comforts have a great disagreement between them. A great disagreement. Luxuries and comforts do not agree with Sufism. Right? You need to be dedicated. First, you should know what Sufism is. Sufism is mass transformation. Transformation of your mindset, transformation of your thought process, transformation of your lifestyle, transformation of your character, transformation of your heart, transformation of your negative psyche. The entire you has to be new. The entire you has to be new. And what will turn you into new is Sufism. What will turn you into new? Start from loving the creation of God. Love humanity. Because you cannot love God. It is not humanly possible to love God. But there are so many who acquired God's love. What I mean to say is, with your efforts and your choice and your willingness, you cannot love God. You will only love God when God grants you His love. So all our efforts as Sufi, all these efforts are to convince God that we seek your love. Please bestow your love upon our hearts. Do you know how to love God? No, we don't know. How will you love God? If you love a human being, you hug them, you kiss them, you take care of them, but you cannot even see God. How will you love Him? Right? How will you love Him? Well, people say, I love God. Okay. All right, I believe you. But God doesn't believe you. I love God. All right. How do you love Him? I love Him. I wake up very early in the morning. I go to mosque every day. Oh, so that's love. Okay. What do you do in the holy month of Ramadan? If going to the mosque is love of God, what do you do in the holy month of Ramadan? You fast for 15, 16 hours. What is it then? Oh, this is one form of loving God. All right. Then everybody in the Muslim countries go to the mosque. Why are you divided in 73 sects? You all love God. You all go to mosque, right? So it means you all love God. Then why are you Sunni and why he is Shia and why he is Wahhabi and why he is Salafi and why he is Barelvi? If going to the mosque is love of God, then why are you divided into 73 sects? Because you all go to the mosque. You are all in love with God, head over heels. That is not love. This is not love. Through Sufism, we purify and transform our being, different elements of our being, our souls, our heart, our lower self, our higher self. We sort of, give shower to every element of our being. And when everything becomes pure, now we're going to invite God. Look at me. It's in nature. When you take a shower, you put on good clothes, right? You wear some perfume. You want to look into the mirror. And then you come out and ask many people, how do I look? Because this is in nature. When you have purified your entire being, now you have the same desire that God had when He was in the treasure. When God was in the treasure, He wanted to be known. Now when you have become purified, now the original desire will come to the surface. Now you want to be known by God. And this is enough to convince God that you have transformed yourself. Okay, God, look at me. I have purified myself. And then God will grant you His love. A thick robe of light will be anchored into your heart. A thick robe of light. A thick robe of light. Not the tight rope. Thick rope of light. The Quran calls it Hablallah, the divine rope. Or we can call it a divine wire. whatever you may call it. When that divine rope is anchored into your heart, it will pull you towards God. And that pulling is God's love. It's not just your heart which you will feel pulled up. Your mind, your thoughts, your emotions, everything is pulling towards God. Then nothing, absolutely nothing can, shake the foundation of your love with God. Why? Because who has more power of pulling than God does? When you're being pulled by God towards God, the world or the devil has not enough power to pull you back towards the world and the devil. If you're being pulled by God, that's it, done. So we are actually transforming ourselves by virtue of adopting Sufism. Love of God will be the gift from God after we have made God happy. You think you're making God happy when you're going to the church and the mosque? No. If God was happy with them, no church would be bombed, no mosque would be bombed. A very fierce opposition came to Lord Jesus Christ. He was apprehended by people who vigorously believed in their religion. They wanted Jesus to become a priest in the Mount of Temple. And Jesus said, "What? You're worshiping God in a building which was made by your own hands? No, never. You need to find God in your heart. Heart is the dwelling of God. And when Jesus said, one who doesn't hate his father and mother cannot be my disciple. What does it mean? It means the relationship, that of flesh and bone, must be overshadowed by the spiritual relationship which you're supposed to establish between you and me. Give more importance to this spiritual relationship. So the type of Sufism that we are portraying to the world today is universal Sufism. What's the difference? What's the difference between classical Sufism and this new age universal Sufism introduced by His Holiness Gohar Shahi? Difference number one, the classical Sufism was associated with a religion. And the Sufi student would have to go through that religion in order to obtain anything from Sufism. So, his or her primary association had to be a religion. So what has changed now? God has introduced broader aspect of Sufism, like God's own spectrum of love. He loves all. So why the teachings of love should not be for all? When He loves all, why the teachings of love should not be for all? So now, in the universal Sufism, there is no primary association. The only association you will need in universal Sufism is the association of God. Your primary and your ultimate association is God. And we are grateful to His Holiness Gohar Shahi for introducing such a wonderful universal Sufi order in which a lot of things which were not possible for everybody to do have been eliminated. There is only one concept. Humanity is my nation. Love is my religion. And my God is your God, and your God is my God. There is no excuse for anybody to plunge into the race of supremacy again. No more. And even if you want to become great, come. Transform yourself. Sufism is not a set of phrases. Phraseology doesn't really help anybody. It's the true transformation. And then, it may sound weird, but this is how it is. You cannot become a Sufi with your own choice. It is God who will decide whether or not you can become a Sufi. I mean, the Sufi doctrine is so beautiful, so marvelous, magnificent, that nobody would be uh, left unattracted to come and join Sufism. But then there is a way. There is an aptitude test in which your information is sent to God. And your heart is presented to God. And if God wants you to become a Sufi, your heart is activated. When your heart is activated, it's God's decision that He has allowed you to become a Sufi and love Him. So this activation of the heart is actually a call to the world. Come and find out whether God wants you to love Him. Through activation of the heart, you come to know of the divine decision. And we have delegated a lot of people all over the world. And they can, on behalf of His Holiness Gohar Shahi, pass on the Goharian legacy of activation of the heart. Sufism has no boundaries. Sufism has no limitations. Anybody can be a Sufi. A Muslim or a Hindu or a Sikh, anybody. Anybody can reach any level in eminence, in excellence when it comes to Sufism. There is no stopping. There is no limit. Anybody can obtain any spiritual status available. In order to convince God to grant us His love, we have to make some psychological changes as well. Number one, do not think anybody is lower than you. Some people are very simple. They're very meeky, very kind. But people don't respect them because they think he's harmless. He's so simple. So people, they don't respect. But this is a great quality. If you disrespect a simple man, think before you disrespect him. Do you have this simplicity in you? You are clever and a half. You don't even tell yourself the truth. This is how ugly you are. And you're thinking lower. You're thinking about others to be lower than you. No. You don't know who is how close to God. Whether they grow a beard, whether they dress up in pink, white, orange, you don't know. I am Sarkar Gohar Shahi's representative, and I teach spirituality, but I swear to my Lord, I personally do not know who is closer to Sarkar Gohar Shahi. When I look into my own heart, I see maybe I'm not even in the list of those who love Gohar Shahi. How can I ever think great of myself? If I think great of myself, I am not a Sufi. If you think you are a great soul, my friend, don't fool yourself. God doesn't look at your faces. God doesn't look at your clothes. He will look at your heart. He will look at your heart. I cannot look at your heart. You cannot look at my heart. So never will I know how close you are to God, and never will you know how close I am to God. Therefore, the best option is that we respect everybody. We don't know who is great. We don't know who is closer to God. Respect everybody. Not just Sufis. Respect everybody. Even those who are busy day and night in disobedience of God. Maybe tomorrow God will grant them His love, right? Maybe tomorrow they will become even greater than you and me. Who knows? Show kindness to everybody. Respect animals. How did you respect an animal? Like the poet of the East, Iqbal. He was coming back home from school, and there was a dog following him. When he reached home, he saw the dog was still following him. And when he stopped, the dog stopped. And Iqbal said he looked into dog's eyes and he realized the dog was hungry. So Iqbal gave his food to the dog. Why did he give the food to the dog? Because he identified hunger. As I am hungry, maybe the dog is hungry. Right? He thought the dog on the same level as he is. We only care if we are hungry. Do we care if the animals are hungry? We help the needy ones, but do we help the animals? If a dog is walking on the road and it's really cold and it's shivering, a Sufi will definitely do something about it. If a thought of providing comfort to an animal does not cross your mind, you cannot be a Sufi. And then what happened? Iqbal gave all his food to the dog. And he slept empty stomach. God was so happy. He signaled to his father in a dream that your son has done something wonderful. He fed a hungry dog and he made me happy. I want to grant your son my friendship. So, what I'm trying to say is that do not think anybody is lower than you, not even a dog. Because it was the dog who paved way for Iqbal to become a saint of God. Respect dogs. There was a king, Subaktin. He was on a deer hunt and he caught a baby deer. The mother of the deer was coming after them. So Subaktin stopped and he looked into the eyes of the deer And there was so much helplessness in the eyes of the mother deer. So what he did was he released the baby deer, and the mother deer became so happy. After this incident, whenever the king heard the name of God, he would start crying. He was blessed by God. Why? Because he understood feelings of an animal, and then he provided comfort to an animal. Do not think God only loves human beings. God loves all His creation. Dog is also His creation. Deer is also His creation. Do not hurt anybody. Do not hurt animals. You have the examples in front of you. His Holiness Gohar Shahi wrote in his book, in his village, in the rainy season, when he would walk home, so there was, there was no roads. There was a very sort of, how do you say it, trodden path. And in the rainy season, it would be flooded, so you can't walk. And on both sides, a lot of insects would come out from the soil, and they would be walking on the path. So His Holiness Gohar Shahi would not walk on the dry piece of land. He would wade in the waters. Why? Because this is also creation of God. If I step on them and they die, it won't be good. His Holiness said, I cannot kill a creation of God. Small insects. This is Sufism. Stand for the truth. Haq ka saath do. Stand for the truth. Whoever you are. If the truth is in India and you are in Pakistan, stand for the truth. Don't think you are Pakistani. If the truth is in America, stand for the truth. Don't think America is a kafir country. Stand for the truth. Wherever the truth is, whichever label the truth has on it, stand for the truth. Support justice. अन्याय के खिलाफ आवाज उठानी. Support justice. Do not support tyranny. Do not support oppression. These are the traits then a Sufi has to follow. Support the truth. Like we support the truth. When we see caliber for God's love in a Jew, we call him a lover of God, regardless of his religion. When we see God's love in Swamiji, Vishwa Anand Swami, a Hindu priest, we see the truth in him. We stand for him because this is the truth. God is not bound to us before He confers His love on anyone. He can grant His love to anybody, anywhere, in any religion. He's not bound to us, is He? So when you recognize the truth, then stand for it. He has the truth in his heart. So we think he is our brother in love, our brother in humanity. We understand his love for God is greater than his religion and my religion. His love for God is greater than his religion and my religion. Because his religion will also teach God's love, and my religion also teaches God's love. When he already has the gist of the religion, then why differentiate? So support justice, stand for the truth. I'll speak more after the panel discussion. I hope I'm not boring you. I went to Karachi Cuisine today, and all of a sudden, Brother Steve barged in. And he was holding a mobile phone in his hand. I said, they're still talking about us. I said, who is talking about us? And it was a GFM radio.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And this guy on this radio is non-stop talking about us. Mehdi Foundation International is organizing a Sufi program here. It has nothing to do with any religion. It's all love.
Yes.
I request everybody to please come. Oh my gosh. Again and again, again and again.
Yeah.
Tell us about that radio
Yes,
announcement.
With pleasure, yeah. But sorry for
He is supporting the truth.
yeah.
This guy.
Yeah, he is.
He will have God's love. This is what God likes in people. They support the truth.
Yeah. Gosh, Baba. So the excitement for the program in Glastonbury is just unprecedented at the moment.
Very true.
2 weeks ago, I visited Glastonbury FM, the local Glastonbury radio station. I contacted them. I wasn't really expecting much feedback from them, but by chance, there's a beautiful presenter on that radio station called Steve Lee.
He's blessed because he's Steve.
And so I sort of went on his Facebook profile. I saw some of the things he was posting. I thought, this guy is really wonderful. So contacted him, and he invited us to the show straight away, live. I mean, he didn't know what I was going to say. You know, he just came on and spoke live to him. And some of the things he was saying were so, you know, so apt. And he was talking about Sufism. And so time's gone past, and people are still showing interest, obviously, in Glastonbury. And I just listened to his show today. I just tuned in by chance to see how he is. And my gosh, within 6 minutes, he was saying, don't forget, everybody, 27th, this Sunday, Glastonbury Town Hall, we have Sufi Master Younus AlGohar, he said, who's coming to teach Sufism. Don't forget, Sufism is not to do with any religion. This is about spirituality. He was just talking like that, and then I thought, okay, thank you. Then after 20 minutes again, just to remind you about the town hall event. And he actually wrote a poem. He's a poet as well. And he read a poem out on live.
Wow.
And it was about what I mentioned the other day about free will, free will. That was his poem. And my gosh, if you listen to it, brother, you would think, wow. He talks about awakening of the heart. Is it to do with ego? We must crush the ego. We must awaken our hearts. It's all about this free will. It's really fantastic. So we've got everything on record. Tomorrow we can put it on the ALRA TV. All what he was saying, all the wonderful things he was saying. And then that's when I came running to His Holiness, because I thought that was the end of it. And then right towards the end of his show, there was about 4 minutes left, and he just dedicated the whole last 4 minutes about saying that I'm going to go. And he's telling all his listeners, I'm going to go, I'm making my means to go there. I advise everybody to come and listen to this Sufi master.
Wow.
Coming to Glastonbury. He says he recognises that he always loves to call it a vortex of spirituality. This is what he calls Glastonbury. And he says, but we're always keen to learn something different. So, I mean, this is going to be wonderful. And what's going to be really great about this one is, I mean, they're going to love the talk. They're going to adore the Heart Awakening. They're going to enjoy the Heart Awakening. But we're going to leave them wanting something more. And when we, as His Holiness mentioned yesterday, in future programs, if these are going to be a success, God willing. And when these are a success, we will have return programs, and it will be about transcendental meditation. And we will have a yogi with us. As His Holiness said, there's some discomfort maybe when the souls come back. So this yoga master kind of thing, it would really be a whole package for them, won't it? That we would do after the heart meditation, we would do this transcendental meditation. Because this, as you said before, is just in their thought process. Meditation is just about relaxing the mind and concentrating the mind. So when they learn about this lower self, I think they're going to love it. So that was a brilliant thing that happened today. And just to recap on today, that His Holiness spoke about transformation. That Sufism is about transformation in the human character. And if you following any other Sufi path and you're not seeing a transformation in your character, then this is proof that this is not a true path. There must be some proof of transformation in your character. And His Holiness spoke about lifestyle as well, which was very interesting. It doesn't mean changing your life, your cars and your houses and things like that. It's your lifestyle that needs to be changed. And of course, we can fight negative energy. As we've been told, there's so many different techniques we can use to help on that process of negating negative energy from our psyche. But after this awakening in the heart and what we've heard, so much more happens after that with the negative soul, that we're also given this help to fight these negative energies, and now automatically our lifestyle will be changing. And His Holiness compared it to like surgery, medical surgery, that you just lie on the bed and the surgeon does all the operations. Okay, you can, I think after surgery there will be some rehabilitation that you can help along the way. And this is the same as this spirituality and this Sufi course, that the spiritual master does all the work, does the awakening and does the purification of the nafs, the psyche. But you can help it along the way also afterwards, you know, most certainly with your lifestyle. And as His Holiness said, with negative traits that we have to cut down on, backbiting and other, you know, keeping a pure lifestyle. That's part of lifestyle as well. Keeping ourselves clean, keeping our mind empty and our mind clean. I mean, these are all tied together for help to us. It's all what's happened after this package. I mean, this has been such a beautiful course. If you want to pick up a few bits after that.
Yeah, sure. So the example is given of Sufism is basically mass transformation. Like we have a house that goes under renovation. Now, if you look at before and after pictures, you won't be able to see the, you know, you won't be able to, there'll be, how do you say it? The comparison would be that the older side of the house was completely different to the newer side. Why? Because the ins and outs, every detail, the furniture, the colors of the walls, the decor, the architecture, everything is completely revamped and changed into the way that you want it to, as is our body, our mindset, our complete characteristics, the way we deal with everything on a daily basis, the impulses, the things that our ego desires. So that basically, once we're on the path, the Sufi master does most of the job, but from us, the requirement is the willingness and the dedication. With dedication, you know that on every step where you will feel maybe, sensitive or weakened by a situation where you might fall into the, bad hand, you might want to do something that's, is wrong. At that time, in that moment in time, if you try and hold it together and control it, then the rest of the efforts are done by the Sufi master. And the entire idea is for us to change our complete lifestyle. It's not about the physical world that we change the house, the car, and our clothes. It's the inside out, meaning you look back at yourself and see how you were before and how you are now. If you don't see the difference and all the things that you had within you before, the evil traits, you still have them, clearly that means that there hasn't been a change. So once you have the Sufi master to enroll you in spirituality and revive your souls, purify your lower self, you want to go step by step. And basically, when you have that willingness to look for the truth, you'll constantly judge yourself as well. See, are these changings coming into my characteristics? Am I thinking differently? Do I have empathy for humans and animals? Do I treat people the way I want to be treated? And so on and so forth. One of the other topics that we were speaking about were how everyone's idea of spirituality, God at the moment, is the association with religions. Everyone is so confined and indulged in the thought of religion, that so much so that now that has become their destination. They're living through it and they use it as a pride, as a badge on their sleeves, but that's about it. No one's looking to the depth of it. Is this method, is this religion, what I'm doing, my living, my lifestyle, is this helping me reach God? So instead of getting so caught up with the association of a religion, try and associate yourself with God Himself. When you know that you're going out there to look for God and connect yourself with God, be it whatever path you find the truth, that will be the way for you. So keep your mind and heart open. Go wherever on earth you have to go to look for God. You can't say like America is a country of infidels or Iran is a country of infidels. These are all countries with all sorts of people, and in all these countries you'll find at least one person that may be connected to God. And if that one person, you have to look through millions for that one person, so be it. As long as you have the willingness and dedication to look for God, you have the heart and mind open for the truth, you will eventually find God. I'd like to continue by giving over to Rehan.
Loving God's creation. And when you love God's creation, it's not cherry picking. You love all.
Yes.
It is also a form of God's love. Right? If somebody is helping my daughter or my son, and somebody is taking care of them, right, I will definitely be grateful to him. In a similar way, when somebody is helping God's creation without anything in return, without any agenda, and it's sincere help, God will definitely reward you. What do you think? You know, our Sikh brothers and sisters, our Sikh brethren, they stress more on serving people. Jag ki seva. And their gurdwaras are open for food for anybody. when our people, 65 members of Messiah Foundation International, were in India, most of them, before coming to America and Canada, they didn't have any place to stay. They didn't have any money to eat. And there was a Gurdwara in Chandni Chowk. They offered their place. They went, they lived, they stayed in Gurdwara. They ate 3 meals every day. Are we thankful to them? No, we're not. We have forgotten. But on behalf of you, God is blessing them. This is, love for humanity. Even if they haven't seen God, but they are helping anybody. You are Muslims. They are Sikh. Ideologically, there is a big difference. But they didn't care. Whoever you are, there is a place, stay here, and you can eat. And some of our people stayed there for many weeks. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even 4 weeks. How can God ignore this wonderful act of these people? If you help anybody without any agenda on your mind, you just help them for God, I think this is another form of God's love. And God will really reward them. If not here, in the hereafter, God will definitely reward them. And our people in India should go to that Gurdwara sometime. And they should tell them that we are really grateful for your help. May God bless you. You want to add anything? Any of you? Swamiji? Swamiji, our great Swamiji.
Anybody will serve to the creation of God, then God really love them. In this world, Sikh communities are really serving humanities. In Syria, in which places are going now in problematic area, they are serving there also without any agenda. So that God has given them special help in this world also. No a single Sikh will be seen on the earth as a beggar. It is also love from God and help from God. Not a single Sikh in the world we can see as a beggar. It is a historical love of God. Because Sikh has accepted that we must serve humanity. We serve food. Those are hunger. Without any religion boundaries, caste, creed, everybody can allowed in Sikh Gurudwaras, so that specially we can see the love of God in this community. And you also teach us that we must care and love to all creation of God. Even insect, small insect, we must care. An entire environment we must care. Because the insects, birds and animals are helpful to humanity, human beings. They all are as a servants, as a human being. So that we must care, even they are our servants. God has made them our servants, so that we must care them, we must save them, we must give them facility and comfort, not kill them. It was second great lesson from you. So that in my some lectures, that even our religion also not allowed to kill any living beings. So some practice are running in some religion festival, just like Bakri Eid. We kill the kurbani of goats and some animals, camels. But as per my thought and as per my knowledge, Quran is not allowed. Islam is not allowed. Real Islam, real philosophy of Sufism also not allowed. To kill even single insect also, then this practice must be thought out. I am not saying that this practice is wrong practice, but we must thought out that if God is allowing us in our spiritual thoughts, in our spiritual path, in our spiritual books, Sufism is not allowed. Today you have taught us, teach us that even a single insect must be cared, must be saved, because it is the creation of God. And God is love. It's creation. So that we must love and we must save it also. It was the third great lesson for us today.
Jesus said, I took my stand in the midst of the world. I took my stand in the midst of the world, and in flesh I appeared to them. I found them all drunk, and I found none of them thirsty. They were already fed with their own thoughts, with their own beliefs. I found them all drunk, and I found none of them thirsty. My soul aches for the children of humanity. My soul aches for the children of humanity, because they are blind in their hearts and they cannot see the truth, because they are blind in their hearts. Jesus said, where there are three, they are without God. And where there is only one, I say I am with that one. It's a metaphor. It does not mean if there are three people in the room, there is no God. And if there is only one Shahid Bhai sitting alone in the room, he is God. It is about inside you. right? If inside you every non-God has exited from your heart, then God will come and reside in your heart. If your heart has you and your devil and all else in your heart, then God will never come into such a heart. Lift up the stone and you will find me there, Jesus said. Lift up the stone and you will find me there. Split the piece of wood and I am there. A prophet is not acceptable in the prophet's hometown. A prophet is not acceptable in the prophet's hometown, nor does a doctor perform healings on those who know the doctor. In the time of Jesus, a prophet was not recognized in his hometown. But today, he is not even recognized in his own home. What a gap. His disciples say to him, "When will you be revealed to us? And when shall we see you?" His disciples say to him, "When will you be revealed to us? And when shall we see you?" And he says, "When you strip off your clothing and are not ashamed and not afraid, it will be me." Strip off your clothes. Regarding the lower self. The Gospel of Mary. The disciples' dialogue with the Savior. Will matter be destroyed or not? The Savior replied, "All natures, all formed things, all creatures exist in and with each other, and they will dissolve in their own root. The nature of matter is dissolved into the root of its nature. Whoever has ears to hear should hear." Peter said to him, "You have explained everything to us. Tell us also what is in the sin of the world." The Savior replied, "There is no such thing as sin." There is no such thing as sin, but you create sin when you mingle as in adultery. When you mingle as in adultery. So basically, sin is not an act by itself. When a right thing is combined with a bad thing, that is a sin. For example, your lower self should teach you how to humble yourself. But if your lower self incites you to be arrogant, this is a sin. Because the bright side of the lower self is that the lower self will teach you humility. It will make you humble. So the right thing is with the right thing. The right thing is the purpose of that thing. Right? When God gives you something for a purpose and you do not serve that purpose, but you do something else which is totally against the purpose of that thing, that is a sin. You have a mouth, you should eat through your mouth, but if you put the food in your nostrils, just telling you, giving you an example, that's against the purpose of your mouth. That's against the purpose of your nose. Through nose, you will breathe. Through mouth, you will eat. So this is what Jesus said. There is no such thing as sin, but you create sin when you mingle, as in adultery. What happens in adultery? What takes place, the activity that takes place in adultery is not a sin. Right? I mean, sexual intercourse is not a sin. It's a way of reproduction. It is not a sin. But when you do the right thing for wrong means, with the wrong means, it's a sin. So the activity itself is not a sin. But what is adultery? There is no bond between you. There is no legal relationship between you. And you perform a sexual activity with somebody that you're not supposed to have that activity with. So the activity itself is not wrong and it's not a sin. But if you do it the wrong way, it becomes a sin. If you do it in the legal way, you have the vows and you become husband and wife, then you can do it as much as you want. It's not a sin. But if you do it without the legality of this, it turns into a sin. So nothing is a sin. You create the sin. When you could have wedded legally, and then you can have it. But if you do not uh, have the legal status of husband and wife, and then you do it, it's wrong, and it's a sin. This is exactly what Jesus is saying. There is no such thing as a sin. So no activity is bad. No activity is bad. For example, killing animals. Because I love Swamiji, I want to correct him now. It's good to correct. To kill somebody without a reason, to kill somebody without a reason is the greatest of all sins. Whether it's a man or a woman or an animal, you cannot kill anybody. Right? But from the first prophet, Adam, Shankar Bhagwan, there was a ritual introduced by him to sacrifice the most beloved son in the way of God. And then it continued to the religion of Abraham. And then Abraham was shown in a dream that God wanted him to sacrifice his innocent son. In some versions of Torah, it says, the closest son. So Abraham saw that in the dream, and then he told his son Ismail that, son, I have seen this in the dream. God wants me to sacrifice, to present your sacrifice to God. So Ismail said, go ahead. If it's God's command, do it. So Abraham was holding, a machete, and he was about to run that machete on the neck of his son. Suddenly, Gabriel arrived, and he said, your test is over. You don't need to kill your son. And at the same time, he brought about a goat, an animal. And he said, from now on, God has abrogated sacrifices of human beings. And it is replaced with sacrifice of an animal. Even in the Hindu religion, there is a concept of bali, in which human beings are sacrificed. In the olden times, there was no technology, and if there were sea typhoons and hurricanes, they would destroy the entire population. So the old sages used to make sacrifice of a human being. They would slaughter a human being, and they would throw the blood of that human being into the sea, and the hurricane would stop immediately. So this concept has come from religions. Muslims do not know, although as a custom, every year they sacrifice an animal. But when it comes from Hinduism, they say this is totally absurd. But this was the custom of the prophets and messengers. What is it? This was the custom of the prophets and messengers. Otherwise, God would not ask Abraham to sacrifice his son. Right? But when it is coming from God, only then you sacrifice an animal. On your own accord, you cannot do it. On your own accord, you cannot do it. But if it is part of some religion, obviously, when Ismail was replaced with an animal, so even the Jews should do it, and they may do it, because it's part of the religion. And the Muslims picked it up from the customs of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Right? Otherwise, Prophet Muhammad did not kill an animal. Muslims have this custom continued from the religion of Abraham. Because even the Muslims believe that Abraham is the father of all the prophets. Right? So this custom in Islam is the same custom which was established in the religion of Abraham, and then now the Prophet of Islam advised Muslims to make sacrifices on this day, which is known as Eid al-Adha. But it's not for every day. It's for when God wishes to. And number two, in India, Muslims want to eat beef. They want to slaughter a cow, and they call it Islam. I want to tell you as a Muslim, the Prophet of Islam never said slaughter a cow and eat its meat. Never. On contrary to this, the Prophet advised against it. The Prophet said, cow's milk is healthy for you. Cow's milk and cow's meat has disease in it. So do not eat beef because it has disease in it. And what is that disease? Cholesterol. Red meat has a lot of cholesterol, especially beef. A lot of cholesterol. So Prophet Muhammad discouraged Muslims. But now we see in India, Muslims want to slaughter a cow. And they say this is Islam. No, this is not Islam. Islam did never say slaughter a cow. Slaughter a goat. But in the Arab Peninsula, they used to slaughter a camel. They used to slaughter a camel. Not even goat. I do not know where the concept of slaughtering a cow come from in Islam. But there is no such thing in Islam. And a few days ago, I was watching this video on Facebook in which one of the Indian scientists was saying, if you put cow shit around you, the atomic rays will not affect you. So if you can use cow shit, why don't you use cow milk? You can also drink cow milk, right? But slaughtering a cow and labeling it as an Islamic custom is wrong. There is no imperative in Islam which, commands you to slaughter a cow. The Prophet of Islam has advised against it. You're not supposed to eat beef because the Prophet said there is a disease in its meat. Therefore, do not eat it. Well, if you're not supposed to eat it, then why are you slaughtering a cow? This is reason number one, which is rational. Now, let's come to the religious point of view. When you know, according to Hindu religion, a cow is given so much respect, and it's a symbol of sacredness. Why do you hurt their feelings? You should respect their religious point of view. Right? All these Muslims who live in India, they should ponder. If your neighbor is a Hindu, you're supposed to respect his religious point of view. Right? I mean, Islam doesn't say that you must slaughter a cow. You can respect his religious point of view, and as a Muslim, you can slaughter a goat, you can slaughter a camel, you can slaughter any other animal. Why must you slaughter a cow? This is mischief. Now, there are two big things. There are two bad things you are doing. Number one, the Prophet of Islam has advised against it. You are going against the advice of the Prophet of Islam when you slaughter a cow and eat its meat. When you do that, what do? You go against the advice of the Prophet of Islam. Number two, you have no respect for others' religion. You should respect their religion. Even if your religion allows you to slaughter a cow, you should quit it for the respect of your fellow Hindu people. If you do this, it will only mean that you're a mischief monger. You want hatred. What do you think? So respecting each other's religion is also part of our religion. If we do not respect each other's religions, we are actually not following our religion. We have no sincerity. But like I said, there was a custom introduced by prophets in which they used to sacrifice their son. This came from God. We cannot deny it. And we also know that Abraham was also asked by God to sacrifice his closest son. And he was almost doing it when he was intercepted by Gabriel and said, the test is over. Now, from now on, you only make sacrifices of animal. So that's about it. I hope it doesn't hurt you. But this is true. So I have to say it. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have said it if there was a little bit of margin. I wouldn't have said it had there been a little margin. But we cannot deny what has been happening for centuries. No, we can't. Even in Hinduism, there was a concept of bali. Even Hinduism, in Hinduism, there was this concept that we need to make sacrifice of a man to, discard the calamity that is about to come. And now in Islam, we have the same concept. But we don't say this is bali. We give sadaqah. So what we do, we buy some meat and we throw the meat away for the birds to eat. And the calamity goes away. So somehow or other we have the concept in different forms. But the basics of these concepts are the same. So Amit ji, aap naraz to nahi hue hain? But this is true. I'm sorry, but this is true. What can we do? हाँ, पूछें.
जब ये प्रॉफिट ने उसकी एग्जाम ली, परीक्षा ली, कि हकीकत में ये मेरा सच में मुझे प्यार करने वाला बंदा है, इसलिए उसकी ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा जो प्रिय उसका सन को जो लव करता था उसको सेक्रीफाइस करने के लिए तैयार हो गया, तो रियली ये मेरा सच्चा प्यारा मुझे चाहने वाला बंदा है. तो फिर वो तैयार हो गया, वो बलि देने के लिए तैयार हो गया. तो उसका बेटे का बलिदान नहीं देने का तो उन्होंने बोला कि आपका बेटे का बलिदान नहीं देना है. तो मैंने ऐसा सुना था कि वहाँ उन्होंने तीर छोड़ दिया बलि करने के लिए, तो तीर तो छूट गया, तो उसका बेटे का बलिदान न हो जाए इसलिए उन्होंने एक करिश्मा किया इब्राहिम ने कि भाई वहाँ एक गोट बकरी पशु एक ला दिया बीच में ताकि वो तीर पशु को लग गया. फिर वहाँ ये आदेश दिया गया था कि अभी आप ये पशु की बलि करो. ये प्रोफेट ने आदेश दिया था कि अभी से आप लोग पशु की बलि कर सकते हैं.
प्रॉफिट ने नहीं, गॉड ने दिया था.
अच्छा, गॉड ने.
अच्छा, वो क्यों, गॉड ने क्यों दिया? अच्छा, अब किसी एनिमल का सेक्रीफाइस होगा तो उससे एनिमल को क्या फायदा है?
दर्द तो होता है ना, दुख तो होता है.
नहीं, दर्द की बात नहीं, फायदा क्या है?
एनिमल को तो कुछ फायदा नहीं
है ना. फायदा, उसका फायदा ये है कि जो एनिमल सेक्रीफाइस होगा
हाँ जी, हाँ जी,
in the name of God.
अच्छा अच्छा,
उसके बाद जो उसका जो आत्मा होगी वो एनिमल में नहीं आएगी, दोबारा इंसान में आएगी. ये एनिमल को फायदा है. उसकी जो अर्जी अरवा होगी फिर वो इंसान में आएगी. वो पवित्र हो गया ना
ठीक है.
गॉड के लिए. But now, in this moment in time, this is what is the ritual of the religious law, where you make sacrifices of animal. Now the Sufis have a different concept, right? That was outer version of Islam. The inner version, which is Sufism, has a different concept. In Sufism, you make sacrifice of your lower self. When a Sufi is ready for the pilgrimage of the holy cubicle, Eid al-Adha, the holy festivity in Islam, Eid al-Adha, is related to sacrifice of an animal. But that is associated with the pilgrimage of Hajj. It is associated with the pilgrimage of Hajj. When they go there, right, they make sacrifice of the animal. Now there are two Muslims. One is a simple Muslim and the other is a Sufi Muslim. And they're both there. The simple Muslim will go in round 7 times around the holy cubicle, right? Circumambulate around the holy cubicle 7 times. And while he is walking around the holy cubicle, he will be making mention of God's name. Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. Oh God, I am here. Oh God, I am here. Inna alhamda wa ni'mata. All praiseworthiness belongs to you, and all the bounties are from you. Inna alhamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk, and the kingdom is yours. And this is what he does. And after the 7 circles, the Hajj is complete. Next day is the festivity of the animal sacrifice, and he sacrificed an animal. And when the blood drops of the animal, his sins are forgiven. His sins are forgiven. He gets the reward. And the animal also gets the reward. In the next lifetime, his terrestrial souls will not come back in an animal. They will come back in a man. Now the Sufi Muslim. The Sufi Muslim also goes in circle for 7 times. Right? In the first circle, Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. Oh my Lord, I am here. Right? What happens? He doesn't say it with his mouth. The voice comes from the heart. The heart says, I am here, bless me now. So in the first circle, the heart is blessed by God. Not the heart of the simple Muslim, the heart of the Sufi Muslim. The heart is blessed. In the second round, the next soul is blessed. In the third round, so there are 7 souls and there are 7 circles. And then next day, right? When in the 7th circle, he comes round, the call must come from the entity of Latifa Nafs. Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik. Simple Muslim was saying all these things with his tongue. None of the soul was reciting it. It was useless. But when a Sufi goes there, in the 7th round, everything is quiet, everything is not saying anything. Only the lower self will speak now. If the lower self says, Labbaik, Allahumma labbaik, oh Lord, I am here, oh Lord, I am here, then light of God will fall upon it. And the lower self will be beheaded. The ego will be beheaded. The arrogance will be beheaded. Right? And his lower self, Latifa Nafs, is sacrificed. Because this is also an animal. So Sufi takes his animal out and sacrifice it. And simple Muslims do not take out their own animal. They buy the animal from the animal market. That is the difference. So in reality, the sacrifice of the lower self is regarded the most sacred sacrifices in the eyes of God. And now what we see in our Muslim countries, people are not very concerned about the way they earn money, whether the money was earned through permissible ways or lawful ways, or the money was obtained through prohibited ways, meaning haram. They are not honest in their business, they are not honest in their job, right? They're making money through unlawful ways. And then they buy the ticket and go to Mecca with the money which was obtained unlawfully. Do you think their pilgrimage will be accepted by God? No. They buy the animal with the money they obtained through unlawful ways, which is haram, and they will make sacrifice of that animal, which was bought with the money that they obtained through unlawful ways. Do you think they can fool God? No. This is why when the sacrifice of the animal has been made, the meat which is supposed to reach the poor people, the needy ones, it doesn't go there. They store it in their refrigerator and they distribute it among their family members. It has just become a ritual, a conventional ritual. It is not serving the purpose. Why it's not serving the purpose? Because the religion is not name of one act. All the acts are interrelated. All the acts are interrelated. If the first rukn of Islam, the first pillar of Islam, which is zikr Allah, the recitation of the holy kalima in the heart. If you haven't obtained it, the next pillar of Islam is salat. Salat is very fundamentally related and linked with the first pillar of Islam, which is zikr Allah. If there is no zikr Allah in your qalb, if there is no noor in your qalb, if the heart is not enlightened, and you move on to the next pillar of Islam, it's useless. And then you move on to yet another pillar of Islam, which is fasting. Your salat is not acceptable, your heart is null and void of God's light, and you're jumping to fasting. And then what happens? You move on to yet another one, zakat. This is why Muslims, most Muslims, not all of them, most Muslims, even if they give charity zakat, they do it very reluctantly. They don't want to do it. Why they don't want to do it? Because it's not halal. In our Muslims today, they will not care if they are hurting somebody, if they are killing somebody. They just want to make money. For example, this Islamic terrorism. What is it? It's a business. Islamist terrorism is an industry. In Pakistan, these Muslim seminaries, these Muslim schools, they give training to these young Muslim boys, young Muslim girls. And then what happens? Then there is a dark market on the website. Then they sell them. Oh, we have a new recruit, 12 years old, Mujahid. And they are sold in millions of dollars. In millions of dollars. This is industry. And do you think only Pakistan is involved? Tell me one country which is not involved in this terrorist industry. Who is not involved? Everybody is involved. This is politics. But don't worry, Gohar Shahi is here. We will clean up the world. Don't think only mullahs and pandits are corrupt. These presidents and prime ministers are more corrupt than our pandits in the mandir and our mullahs in the mosques. They are more corrupt. There is all type of industry. Doctors, we respect them, don't we? But if you know the truth, you will not respect them anymore. In India alone, if a poor man goes in the hospital, they operate upon, he doesn't even know, and they steal their kidney. And they sell it on the dark web. And this is what happens in China. What is happening in China? They are taking out organs of Muslims in China and they're selling it. My friend, humanity is at its worst. But this has to come to a complete stop now. His Holiness Gohar Shahi is going to rescue humanity. Not one nation, the entire humanity has to be rescued. Gohar Shahi and Lord Jesus Christ. They are the universal saviors. They will save the world. Terrorism. Terrorism is an industry. Like, making weapons is an industry, right? Those who make weapons, they call it industry, weapon industry, right? And it's okay. So what about those who use weapons? You know, the business have many different types. In some business, you sell your products. But in some other business, you sell your services. So one is selling its products, guns, bombs, and the others are selling their services. Okay, we will use it. Right? So one is selling the same product from the same industry, and the other group is selling their services. Okay, you have now made it. Thank you very much. Now we will use it. Our services are here. But who is suffering? Mothers and fathers are suffering. Why? Because out of poverty in Pakistan, they send their kids to the mosque. And the mullah tells them, don't come to the mosque for 5 years. We will give food and shelter to your son, but you cannot meet him. And after 5-6 years, the parents don't even know where their son is gone. They don't even know. The son has been sold. He was not a terrorist. He was mentally hijacked. He was mentally brainwashed. He was not a criminal. He was used. Poverty. This is an industry in the world. And who is not involved in this? If countries have a top secret, very confidential, and being a Sufi, I'm not able to see it, then what kind of a Sufi I am? If you have a top secret and a Sufi who has keys of the skies, of the lands, if he doesn't have this spiritual insight that nothing should bar his eyes from digging the truth up, then he's not a Sufi. Ittaqu fara'satil mu'min فَإِنَّهُ يَنْظُرْ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ. Fear the power of Sufi's ability to see things, because he sees things with the light of God. There are uncountable different types of atrocities taking place in the world today. His Holiness Gohar Shahi is here to fill the earth with justice, to free humanity from all types of tyranny and all sorts of injustice and all sorts of atrocities. Humans have lost their value. And it is not animals who are disrespecting humanity. Humans are disrespecting humanity. So we understand as a Sufi, the humans who are destroying humanity are humans only in appearance. Their inner human being has died. Before the inner man dies in everybody, let's awaken them. Let's revive them with the power of love, with the power of God's light. This is our ideology. I would like the panel to discuss it now.
Gosh, Amarba. Just going back on the discussion about sacrifice and how it's been applied in various religions and the purpose behind every form of sacrifice to date. I think I recall there's also a different form of sacrifice in Hinduism. Back in the days, that if the husband dies, they would sacrifice their wives as well. I heard
Discuss
that
this,
concept.
the Sufi way of sacrifice.
Ji,
Don't go into the details. It's discussion, yeah?
ji.
Discussion on certain points. If you repeat what I said, it's useless. It's not discussion then. Discuss the points, like the Sufi way of making a sacrifice. What is the Sufi way of making a sacrifice?
Okay.
A Sufi does not sacrifice an animal. Sufi sacrifice his inner animal.
Yes.
Right, Brother Steve?
Right. Correct.
A Sufi sacrifice his inner animal. Talk about that point.
Yeah.
Now he's quiet
Gosh.
because I disturbed him.
No. Ji, so we're speaking about the sacrifice of how Sufis make a sacrifice, which personally I believe is the ultimate way one can make a sacrifice. And once you're on the path of spirituality, it's all about, the souls we have, the ego, the higher self, the 5 souls. Just the thought to sacrifice your lower self is, you're beginning to, you're going to go against your own desires to begin with. And the whole process that was explained was during the process of Hajj, how a simple Muslim goes about circumambulating the Holy Cubicle 7 times and speaking out the verses from the Holy Quran. The next day following on with sacrificing an animal, which they don't even do correctly. But the real sacrifice that can be done is by a Sufi, where he sacrifices his lower self to God. And I don't remember the details. That pretty much sums it up. Meaning, we're too caught up with the physical aspects of sacrificing animals and human beings, whatnot. But the ultimate sacrifice that can be done is of our lower self, the nafs, the soul that is attached to us, that makes us do all the things that one can think is wrong. And that pretty much sums it up. Do you have anything to say? Bye. Come on.
Brother Steve is quiet. You think it's too sensitive? No, that's Now a Sufi says, what's the point of sacrificing an animal when you haven't sacrificed your own animal nature? Because we want to be human, right? We want to be human and humane. And there is an animal inside us. This is why we need to sacrifice that animal as a Sufi. But even as a Sufi, we have to accept the concept given by religions. So we give respect to the concepts given by religions, but we also say at the same time, this is what we do. We sacrifice our inner animal, which is dangerous. If we don't sacrifice our inner animal, then we will lose our human instinct. So in order for the human instinct to survive, we have to make the sacrifice of our animal nature. That is the difficulty. If we were not threatened by our animal nature, and we didn't face this threat, that one day if we didn't take care of this animal nature, then our human instinct would disappear and we would not be a practical human being anymore. We wouldn't bother sacrificing our animal nature. But out of necessity, in order to survive, we have to sacrifice our animal nature, which is, expanding every day. If we don't stop it from expanding every day, a day will come when we will become a social animal. We will look like human beings, but we will not behave like human beings. So this sacrifice of the inner animal is like survival of the fittest. Whoever is the fittest will survive. And this gets its diet every day. This gets its strength every day, the lower self. So this will be the strongest one. Our heart hasn't been introduced to divine energy. Obviously, it will remain to be weak. So the strongest will survive. So it's all matter of survival of the fittest. If the Latifa Nafs is the fittest one, he will survive. If the heart is the fittest one, the heart will survive. So in order for our own survival, we have to make sure that our animal nature is sacrificed to preserve our human nature and give rise to our human instinct. That's our understanding as a Sufi.
Garsha Marhaba. What surprises me is the complexity of each matter that we speak upon. For example, Swamiji was addressing the misconception that we have amongst Muslims and Hindus in India. And the main point is, neither do the Muslims know why they are sacrificing, and then they aggravate and incite the Hindus, and it's all done in just prejudice and a form of racism, and they're only doing it to
Incite
incite
Hindus,
the Hindus in India,
hurt them.
to hurt them, honestly.
I think this is a crime
This is
against your own religion.
this is
You are using your religion to hurt Hindus.
exactly.
So you're not doing any service to your religion.
No,
You're earning a bad name for your own religion.
exactly.
If you just do it, I'm a Muslim, I must sacrifice the cow. Why?
Very true. And it's because of these sorts of mentalities. We have some viewers that were asking, where is it written that eating beef is haram? But the point is,
I did not say it's haram.
exactly, it's not about haram.
When did I say it's haram?
Absolutely.
I said there is a hadith that says
Exactly.
cow's milk is good for your health, and in beef there is a disease for you. I did not say it's haram. Poison is not haram. Why don't you eat it? Because it's injurious to health. In a similar way, beef is injurious to health. We did not say it's haram. You can eat it. Who said? But then, if you eat it, remember, you are going against the advice made by your Prophet. If you have the audacity to turn against the advice of your Prophet, go ahead, F yourself up. Who cares? Yeah, this is where, Brother Steve, I feel hurt. That these Muslims, even if I say that thing, you said this is haram. When did I say this is haram? I said there is disease in the meat and shifa, health in milk. So the advice from the Prophet is, it is injurious to your health. And milk is good for your health. If you have common sense and the intellect is still working there, you understand what it means. It's not about halal or haram. The Prophet said what is good and what is bad. Now it's up to you. If you want to eat shit, it's not haram, eat it. But is there any hadith that says shit is haram? You cannot eat it. Why there is no hadith on this? You know why? Because it's common sense. You're not supposed to eat shit. And you're asking, is it haram to eat shit? I mean, the common sense will tell you. Idiots.
It's very true. And it's sad, but I mean, when you sit in this spiritual gathering and you hear the logic behind everything that is being explained, then you talk to the common religious person, you just come to, it just hits you hard that what the hell is going on in the world.
Just see how the level of intolerance
Exactly. Very true.
and ignorance. One problem is that most of these people do not know the art of listening. I'm talking about mango, and they will say, why are you advising us to eat banana? Never mention banana. Listening is very important. If you do not know the art of listening, then go home. Listening is very important. Because if I say a pen, and you say, where is the hen? I never said hen. I said pen. So listening is very important. And most of these contemporary Muslims, they have a problem. They look for, they look for opportunities to pick on me. Why did you say? I never said this is haram. Eating beef is not haram. It's not haram, but there is a hadith of Prophet of Islam in which the Prophet advised Muslims. In meat, in beef there is disease. And in cow's milk there is health. Go ask any scientist, anybody who knows science. He will tell you the level of cholesterol in beef is higher than any other meat. The highest in all. Uske andar jo cholesterol hai, बहुत. So my friend, there is the hadith. Wow. I thought I just made it up. It's there. Wow. It's there. Wow. Look at this. Now let me read it for you. The Prophet of Islam said, गाय के दूध में शिफा है. गाय के दूध में शिफा है. शिफा को इंग्लिश में क्या कहते हैं? Cure. There is a cure in cow's milk. और इसका मक्खन दवा है. अच्छा, ये हदीस में इजाफा है. ओरिजिनल हदीस में मक्खन का जिक्र नहीं था. बखुदा, ऑनेस्टली, देयर वाज नो मेंशन ऑफ मक्खन. अबे अरबों को क्या पता मक्खन क्या होता है? नहीं, ओरिजिनल जो हदीस है उसमें सिर्फ दूध का और मीट का जिक्र है. ये मक्खन पता नहीं कहां से आ गया. और इसके गोश्त में बीमारी है. ये देखिए, अब ये हदीस है. आप, इसका मतलब है कि अगर आप ये चाह रहे हैं कि ये हलाल है तो खाएंगे, तो कितने आपका घटिया जहन है. मोहम्मद रसूलुल्लाह आपको कह रहे हैं कि इसके गोश्त में बीमारी है और आप सोच रहे हैं ये हलाल है हराम है. अबे अजीब घामड़ आदमी हो भाई. जहन ही नहीं है तुम्हारा. क्या दीन है तुम्हारा यार? यहां पर साफ साफ बताया तो जा रहा है उसके गोश्त में बीमारी है, उसके बावजूद आप खाने का पूछ रहे हैं कि भाई हलाल है या हराम है. खा लो, गोबर खा लो उसका, वो भी कोई जिक्र नहीं है हराम या हलाल का. All right, that's it for today. See you tomorrow with more spiritual aggression. Sufi aggression. Jalal.